It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey guys, what's up? You're watching Up and Adam. My name's Adam Newell. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the guy bringing you guys all the weekly interviews and recaps from your favorite celebrities and pop culture influencers. But for those of you who do know me, you know that that's not why we're always here, right? Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Today's one of those days. Hit that notification bell. That way you guys don't miss anything we have coming up. Also, make sure to subscribe. We are about to have an awesome, one-of-a-kind conversation with Dr. Deb, Braunwyn's mom from the Real Housewives of Orange County. She is absolutely amazing. Here we go. Also, guys, before we get started, I just want to kind of give a disclaimer out there. You know, in this interview, I was talking to Dr. Deb, and I asked her about why, or what she was thinking when she said, "You were more fun when you were drinking," to her daughter, Braunwyn. Dr. Deb went on to explain to me after, and I definitely want to give her the benefit of the doubt because, guys, any of us with a brain know how production works. We know how editing works. And when people are extremely nice, it doesn't really sell, right? But when you add conflict, it does sell. So Dr. Deb came back to me after talking with her son, Marley, and she went on to explain that what she meant when she said you were more fun drinking was in regards to how she felt production and the other housewives would feel, because it causes fights. It's good for ratings. It helps tremendously for a show that really thrives on this sort of kind of conflict resolution platform. You know, she actually went on to say in this interview, and you guys will see it for yourself, Dr. Deb doesn't believe her daughter is more fun drinking. She actually believes it's scary, it's worrisome, and she enjoys Braunwyn more when she's level-headed, clear thinking, and more aware. And obviously, guys, we're seeing Braunwyn right now thrive and do better than ever. She's honestly like a butterfly coming out. I'm so excited to see what's to come for her. But I wanted to clear this up before we jump into the interview. So just think about that for a second, guys. It was definitely taken out of context. She meant the Housewives production, and everyone else for the show thinks that it's more fun when you're drinking because it helps ratings. So just take that disclaimer, and again, let's jump right in. Oh, you look so pretty. Hi.
Adam, you look so pretty. Hi.
I'll keep you around. Is it okay if I call you Dr. Deb?
Yeah, that's what everybody calls me.
All right. So Dr.
My
Deb.
kids call me. My kids go Dr. Deb if they want my attention.
I like that. And it has a ring to it. Well, Dr. Deb, I really appreciate you joining me and giving us your time. I know that you're probably super busy, but this is free. We got you on short notice. Not busy?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't even use the word busy.
Oh no. Well, for anyone who's been living under a rock, and especially during these times, and who wouldn't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of background on you, Dr. Deb?
Background. Let's see. Yes. Actually, I do something in the morning on my Instagrams. Not every morning, but it's really just my therapy, my personal therapy. It's called Morning Meds. It's short for meditations. And this morning, actually, on my Morning Meds, which are downloading as we speak, I talk about my childhood, my background, how I was raised in a very repressed Baptist Mississippi in the 50s. And then in the 60s, and I was very colorful, and I was a performer when I was a little girl. I sang in church. I always took dance lessons. And so if you've ever been down south, or if you're familiar with the South.
I actually went to college in Tennessee, college and high school.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think things have changed. I don't know, because when I left, things were still very repressed, and people want to keep you in line. It's the culture down there.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
No.
So I was a theater major at the University of Southern Mississippi. I left home at 15. I got bullied I got bullied a lot by my sisters, not my older sisters, my two younger ones, and my best friend, who I thought that's what best friends were supposed to be.
Oh no.
I know. And I was really little. So anyway, I left home at 15 and I started college. I did it all on my own. No one, my mother like, where'd you go? You moved out of a garage. Where'd you go? I was like, I went to college. And oh, okay. And I know.
You're a free spirit.
I am. And she was a hardworking single mom with some girls. I moved out and went to college, performance, theater arts at University of Southern Mississippi. And then I came back to California when I was 17 to go to UCLA. And I met this surfer dude on the beach. And that's Braunwyn's father. He was older, like 24, 25. And I was still a little girl playing with Barbie dolls, basically, and dressing up. I was all about dressing up and fantastical stories. I was always making up plays when I was a little girl and dressing up in fabulous jewelry for my grandmother. And basically this was just an extenuation of that story. I fell in love with this guy. He had piercing blue eyes, and I didn't know that he was fraught with, he was an addict, and I didn't know that. I was Mississippi, didn't know about it. I didn't know about addiction. I didn't know anything really. And growing up in the 60s, the 70s. So I fell in love with this guy. And I was a free spirit because I dropped everything to get on a military airplane called a C-130 to travel to the Azores Islands to live on a boat with him.
Wow.
And I, not knowing that he had left the States to become sober. I didn't know that. I mean, he was into all kinds of stuff too. So
that would have been a detail that would have been nice for you to know.
Oh, which part?
Why he left?
Yeah, no, I didn't know. I just knew, I didn't know. I was a little girl, basically, and I was living this fairy tale story. I'd fallen in love with this dude, and he left, and so I followed I was pregnant too, and when he left, living in California. There's a lot of stories here. It was really fun.
Wow. So I'm just curious, was Braunwyn your first child?
Oh God, yes. I was so young when I had her. We may even want to do 2 interviews or 3 or 10.
Hey, I'll keep you around. You're more than welcome to jump on with me anytime.
Because there's so much going on. I had a lot of passions as a child. And the funny thing is that, these days people are like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, or I don't know my passion. I never ever occurred to me, never, that I couldn't do exactly what I wanted to do. If I wanted to be a rock star, which that happened. No, I guess I was a rock star. I did it. If I wanted to be a doctor, here I am, this party girl, 23-year-old woman, LA, at the house band at the Whiskey A Go-Go, at the Roxy, at the Gazzari's, the whole thing, playing with Randy California, who was a very well-known guitar player, and being produced by Chuck Berry. And I dropped it all to go back to medical school. And my band, they're like, you can't do that. You can't go to med school. You're not med school. You can't be a doctor. And I was like, yeah, I can. So it was always easy in that I never had any negative thoughts that I couldn't do something. I know that plagues a lot of people, and I never had that. Never.
No, I think that's so important to you. First of all, I want to say you sound kind of like, you're kind of like an onion with a lot of layers, except, I'm sure if there's a much prettier analogy than that, but you know what I mean? Is that there's so much dimension to you.
How about a rose?
Yeah. Oh, okay. A rose. There you go. A rose is so much better. I'm going to start using rose because I'm like an onion kind of, but that's the only thing I can think of with layers. But no, I think that's amazing. You're pretty much kind of just letting us know that you never let any sort of negativity get in your head. If you want something and you really want it, then you'll get it because you lead with a positive foot.
Yeah. I believed in angels. I was, my mother believed in angels. So I believed in Santa Claus. I believed, I lived in that fantasy world. And for me, everything was possible because I believed, I always believed. I believed in people. I trusted people. I have this deep trust of people. So see, then I get a little teary-eyed when I say that, because that show let me down. I don't want to talk about that.
No, and I think that, just to be fair, I get on here and I do a lot of lives, and I really play off of people's energies, and it kind of, I feel like I'm just super empathetic. So somebody starts crying, I get sad, they're happy, I'm happy. I'm very much so the same in that kind of regard. But, we'll get to a little bit of that in a minute, and in such a positive way too, because that's the platform that I keep. But, there are a lot of things that people don't know about you. Like, you advocate for a lot of different topics that people seem to throw off to the wayside. Your advocacy for ending the drug war, clinical trials of psychedelics. I mean, these are topics that a lot of us kind of put down here because there's so much media press on all of these other topics that we just don't even acknowledge these, but you do.
These are the relevant. These are relevant topics. They're cutting edge, frontier, the edge of the frontier, on the cutting edge, on the leading edge is my advocacy for pro-aging. Women especially, and women too, both, genders, all genders, there's more than two, which is something that I understand now. And everyone is seeking to stay young. I know I certainly did for a while, a long time. And there comes a certain point where you do so many things to stay young that actually the focus, I think, is better when you stay relevant. And so young is physical, where relevancy is holistic. It's everything, mind, body, soul, everything. If you stay relevant, if you take care of yourself and honor your sacred temple of your body, you'll be fine, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't be doing a little this or that to make themselves feel better. If you want to get Botox, fuck it, get Botox. If you want to do lip injections, do it. I don't care. Maybe you'll like them, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll do it a couple of times and go, this hurts. And what good is it? What has it provided me? Like another 100,000 Instagram followers. So do whatever you want and then come and return to yourself. And as we age, I believe, lose ourselves. Not that we ever found ourselves to begin with. But I know one thing is as you grow, as you level up is what I like to call it, instead of just aging. As you level up as a human to become a master human, you drop things by the side. You drop, like for me personally, I wanted to be a playmate, my dad had a stack of Playboy magazines, and I wasn't around my dad much because they were divorced. And when I'd go see him at his house, he had this stack of Playboy magazines. This was the 60s. I idolized those women. So when he was at his office working and there's this stack of Playboy, which is the only magazine he had, I would just devour Playboy magazine when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I wanted to be those women. And I wrote in my diary in the 5th grade, the 2 things I want to be when I grow up is a Playboy bunny, and what do we call, stewardesses. We don't call them stewardesses anymore. I wanted to be because those are the girls my dad dated. He dated Playmates and Miss Mississippi and the governor's daughter. And so whatever he wanted, I wanted to be like that. So I was so schooled and indoctrinated into the male gaze from a very early age, posing and, and the kitty look, the look down and look up with the big eyes and the long hair. And I mean, the extensions and stuff, I'm so proud of Braunwyn for getting rid of those blonde extensions.
No, and even her short hair now, Braunwyn always looks beautiful, but the short hair, I'm digging it. I think she looks amazing.
She looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be really careful about what I say, because everybody will relate it back to something that she said in the show. I want to refer to the you remember last year she was drunk.
Right.
In all of her confessionals. She admits it, and so a lot of the things that she said, they were
amplified.
They weren't really, yes, amplified would be one way of putting it. And distorted. We say and do things when we're drunk that we really may not mean, or there's a seed of that, but we didn't really mean to go so over. And and I didn't know that she was saying those things in confessionals. It was the producers. I did about 8 hours of confessional interviews with them, and they gave me alcohol. And I'm not an alcoholic. So that was fun for me to be picked up in a limo and carried to an interview and have my makeup done and be served some bourbon. And, they weren't making me drink it, but it was fun. I felt, oh, this is a party. This is fun. They're interested in me. My ego was being, oh, wow, this is what it's like to have attention. And being, an artist and a performer, and a little girl. It was fun. It was so much fun. And so that's how I saw it, as fun. Not knowing that it wasn't going to turn out to be fun. And I'm I tease a lot with my family. We all tease each other, not in a mean way, but my husband is so funny and I am so funny. And the two of us, he laughs at me constantly. And Braunwyn's funny. I don't know if that's come across on the show. I don't watch the show. Braunwyn is fucking hilarious.
You watch it? You said you do, or you don't watch it?
No, I don't watch it. No, I tried. I can't. Because nobody in my family watches it. We can't watch it. It
has to be hard after a while.
You can't watch it. You never know. It's like, oh, wait, what's going to come out now? And then all these words that come out. And it's like, now I can, because now I have some 6 skills from having to deal with the public coming at me. I have 6 skills now. And I can, like a Jedi.
Well, I was going to ask you, there's a lot of people, when you do go on shows like this, whether it's reality TV, it could be any form of a reality television show. Yeah. Usually they try to get you to be your kind of most raw self, right? They get you exactly, and they get you where you're a little bit vulnerable. And just a little bit of a background on me. For the past few years, I've been around a Bravo production, and I watch how they feed the castmates an hour before they start filming. They feed them alcohol, and they're like, "Nope, open tab. Like, go ahead, film." And I've seen it, and I've seen how it affects these people. So some of the castmates got to the point where if they knew they were filming that day, they wouldn't even touch a lick of alcohol, because they're like, no, you're not going to, they started realizing what was going on. And they're like, you're not going to get me to that point. While it looks like you're kind of showering me with all of this love and giving. It's like, it's because you want me to kind of have that one moment that you get to edit and make it chaotic.
I know. In particular, I just want to, one of the first moments was, there was a couple of moments, like there was the ring where I asked her for the ring back. Give me back that ring. First of all, I was kidding. It's like, I want that ring. There's a story behind the ring, but you don't know the story behind the ring. The ring is, I got her a ring and I got me a ring. We both had rings from a friend of mine who makes them by hand in Nepal. They're very special sacred rings. He blesses them. And the ring, basically, when you put it on, if it doesn't come off, then it's your ring. It was meant for you. It basically jumps on your finger. And so there was a scene at the beginning when I first meet the ladies in Laguna, and she was wearing the ring. And I went, oh my God, I haven't seen that ring in a long time, because I loaned Braunwyn things. I loaned her the white peacock dress at the fashion show. The pink peignoir was mine, which they took the original label off, which it's like a $3,000 vintage piece. I found it for $25 in a thrift shop, but the label, the production crew took it off. And it was the Sands Hotel, which doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, that was just, anyway, it was disrespectful, I thought. But so here we are sitting at the table, she's wearing the ring, and I went, oh my God, my ring. Because this is what happened. I gave her her ring. She liked my ring better. And I went, oh, well, this is kind of sacred-y, my ring, but okay. And I let her have it. And then I said, but let's pass it back and forth like we do with our clothes, like we'll trade it off. And she said, yeah, sure. So she's wearing it that night. And I said, oh, give me that back. And then of course they make an unpleasant moment. So it seems uncomfortable at the table, and then they cut in shots of all the housewives going.
So then it makes it a little bit more dramatic, of course.
And feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And when it's really just between a mother and daughter teasing, I was teasing her about the ring. I wasn't going to take the ring back. She still has the ring. I'm not attached to the ring, but it was a joke. And so, yeah, that didn't play out as a joke. It played out as me being, as taking something from her. Another example was when we went for a hike. And I love bees because, we're killing the bees, and we're on a hike, it's spring, the flowers are blooming, and there's bees on the flowers. And I go, oh, a bee. And then they broke back. It's like later on in our hike, she says something to me about, why did you do this or this? And I was shocked that she brought my sister into it, who's disabled. And I stopped the production crew right there. I said, I started crying. I said, I'm not going to bring my sister into this. I'm not going to bring my mother and father. They take care of my sister. I financially support my sister. I'm not going to bring her, your issue from when you were in high school with my sister, who is disabled mentally. I said, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to disrespect my parents. I'm not going to disrespect my sister.
There has to be a line eventually.
Yeah. And so they, but they edited it so that, and the bee thing was at the beginning of the hike, they edited, and they edited it so that we're walking along and she says something that's supposed to shock me. Like, why did you do that when I told you not to? And then they edited it so it looks, and I look off to the side, which had happened 30 minutes before, and go, oh, a bee. And then they show the bee flying off. And I'm like, oh my God. So it looks like I don't listen. I don't hear her. And this is, of course, when she was not doing well. This was last year. So.
Well, then, just to be fair too, it seems like a few of these moments now that I feel like once they've established this character as a network, yes. And, once they establish this character, they just try to roll on with it, especially mm-hmm. if there's a dynamic there that, the viewers are buying into. There was another vulnerable moment this season where, how it was edited to look, or maybe it was this way, I'm not sure. But when you were telling Braunwyn that she was a lot more fun when she was drinking, but then I feel like as a person watching, I'm like, there has to be more to this story than just that statement.
Did I actually say you're more fun? You were more fun then, or you were more fun when you're drinking?
I think you said, actually, and I don't want to say verbatim, I think you said something like, you're not as fun when you're not drinking.
Yeah, I don't know if I said whatever I said, but I'm not sure about that part. But yeah, we had just been through a year of not talking to each other, basically. She blocked me and was yelling at me. So I just... she was not happy with me, but again, she was not sober, and I understood that. And it was very painful. And the show is what caused her to start drinking again. So I don't think I was referring to her, she's more fun when she's drinking, because she's not. She was more fun before the show.
Do you?
We had a good relationship. I didn't know about all these things that she brought out in the show. She never talked to me about them. The fact that when I went to med school, I went to med school to make things better for us, because I was a waitress and singing in a rock band. I thought, I'll go to med school and I'll have a real job. And I took a lot of shit for that. If this were 40 years ago or 30 years ago, and a father who has a daughter wanted to go to medical school, and he let his mother take care of her while he was in medical school, he wouldn't have taken this. No one would have. Oh, good for him for wanting to better his life. But I didn't get that, So I think it's harder on women who want to better themselves. I think it's just harder for us. Yeah, and we expect a lot these days as mothers. We're supposed to. Mothers are different than they were in the 60s and the 70s. We weren't. When I left home at 15 and my mother was stressed out with girls, single mother, I didn't blame my mother. I didn't blame my mother for picking me up in the middle of the night when I was 8 years old and taking me out of the house away. I never blamed her. I was like, oh my God, she was working so hard trying to make things better. But there's an epidemic of children estrangement right now. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
It's an epidemic. Yeah, why? There's people out there, researchers trying to figure out why is there an epidemic of estranged children. And I'm not saying they're children. I'm saying estranged adults. They're adult children who are estranged from their parents for one reason or another. And so researchers are trying to find out why it's this epidemic of kids raised in the 80s, the 90s. But it has to do with because you're young, you're probably born in the 90s, maybe?
Yeah, I was born in 93, but I understand what you're saying on this only because, I have a lot of brothers and sisters. Off and on, my parents have been married a few times. So off and on, I've had about 11 brothers and sisters, but some of them do very well. And then other ones come out with I am this way as an adult because of you. And right. I always kind of look at it in my mind, our parents did the best that they could. I felt like I had an amazing childhood that, maybe somebody else, if they had the same childhood, they might pick apart and say that affected them and ruin their life, but I always just believed now as an adult, it's up to me to kind of pave my own path. And sometimes people don't really have that same, kind of way about them. Sometimes their childhood really affects them to the point in their mind where it's just debilitating for them to move forward.
Yep. And they become addicts.
Yeah. Do you feel like I've always wondered this, and do you think sometimes when we battle with different addictions that's hereditary, or do you think we do it on our own, or do you think that's just a learned behavior?
I think it's a multifactorial. I think it comes from multiple factors. Braunwyn's father certainly was an addict, and his father was an addict, and his brother was an addict. I have a sister who's an addict, or she's sober now, but she was an addict for years and years. So definitely my mom and dad never did anything, but it definitely is genetic. There's a genetic component to it. Definitely, that's a big part of it. Also, there's links, environmental, that can cause it. I'm not an addict, so I don't know what made me. I smoked for about 8 years when I was young, and I was never addicted to it.
Right.
So I can have a beer, you know.
And you don't feel like you have to drink the whole box of them.
I don't have to drink. I don't even enjoy getting drunk, you know. I hate it. Last time I got drunk was Coachella like 7 years ago. I swear I thought somebody slipped me a Mickey because I so reacted to it. And I woke up in my RV with my head wedged between the toilet and the wall of the RV, asleep on a balloon.
Coach, listen, some crazy things happen at these music festivals.
I guess I had tied a balloon to my hair and I was sleeping on it, and I woke up and I thought I would never do this again. That was so crazy. What if it popped?
My God, that would have woke you up.
That would have woke me up. Anyway, so yeah, I swear I feel like I got slipped a Mickey. I have been slipped a Mickey a couple times. I have been. Have you ever got slipped a Mickey?
No, I don't ever want to get slipped a Mickey.
I got slipped a Mickey by the mayor of one of the towns that I lived in. That's a good story.
Hey, listen, like that's why I said, well, you said it. You said we have to do a couple of these. I think honestly, you're so fascinating. You have so many stories and you're just so vulnerable with your stories. And I think it's important for people to remember sometimes these stories can really help other people because they know that, you know, nobody has this perfect life, right? Everybody, it might seem perfect on the surface, but we all go through these like little grooves and roller coasters called life. And like you said, as you level up and become, what kind of human did you call it?
I don't know. I never.
Like a mega human, let's say, like just you level up as you go and as you age. I think a master human. Oh, a master human. That's what it was. And you just learn and grow with it. But
which in this culture, people call it senior citizen. But in my world, it's a master human.
I like that. I like that. Well, I know that you did say that, you know, obviously for you, it's probably better and healthier to just stay away from watching the show and how some things can be edited sometimes because those things can be hurtful. But
you think?
Yeah.
Especially
now though,
if you're an empath.
Yeah. I mean, my fiance and I were offered to be on a reality show, and we went through the whole process of going through interviews, and it was second interviews, and then we had a contract handed to us, and we really had to sit down and say, is this something that we want to do? Because I feel like the minute that somebody starts attacking me or saying how stupid they might think that I am, or how silly I sound, or how I look, I would just take that and I would feel defeated because you're human.
Crumble.
And it hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts, especially like you said, if you're an empath. And that brings me to, you know, my next question, especially a lot of people were perceiving that one statement that, you know, again, we're not going to say verbatim that whole, whether you're more fun drinking or not as fun, whatever the case is. And you just said on here that you actually enjoy your daughter more when she's not drinking, especially now she's come out and she's living her most authentic life. She seems like she's absolutely glowing, like life is beautiful, and it's a whole new chapter for her. I mean, that has to make you feel better, right?
You think? No, Braunwyn is awful when she's drinking. She's a lot more fun when she's not drinking. So right. I don't know how that was edited or whatever, or what I actually said, or how they took it in context. But no, I've picked Braunwyn up off the floor and carried her to bed and taken her clothes off and put her in bed. And then she got up the next morning and asked for a vodka at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's not fun. You know, that is not fun, and it's not pretty, and it's not, and mainly as a physician, a doctor, it's not healthy.
Right.
You know, it's not healthy. And I've been there for some pretty, I've flown cross country to help for when things were bad, right. You know, 5 days at a time. And you know, and Sean has said, please don't leave. I'm like, I just don't know if I can do this. And I'm checking the vodka bottle to see how much, and finding them. And, or my 12-year-old daughter taking, at Disney World, my 12-year-old daughter takes a swig of water and it's vodka. And she calls me and tells me. So it's not fun when she's like that, but she's not like that anymore. She quit drinking. I was there to help her when she got sober last time. And that was rough too. Getting sober is not easy. It's not just I work with addicts, and I work with, so we were talking about this, psychedelic advocate. I work with addicts. I work now to coach with sacred psychedelic medicines, but one in particular called Ibogaine. And it's so effective. You have to do it in Mexico because it's illegal. So when I talk about things like that on my personal Instagram, then not anymore. I don't get this anymore, but I used to get it last year when people really, really were angry at me for, you narcissistic monster, which is completely exactly 180 degrees of who I am. And I have so many good friends, a huge community. My husband and I have been together for 40 years. I'm my mother's best friend. I mean, if I was a narcissistic monster, I wouldn't have those tight, loving, kind people just boom, surrounding and supporting me. So I work with this medicine called Ibogaine. I don't work personally with it, but when I talked about it on my IG, people go, oh, you're a drug addict. You're a psyched out, coked up, drug addict hippie. I did coke in the 80s. I mean, I was in a rock band in fucking Hollywood. What do you do? I was with David Lee Roth and Chrissy Hines and the Pretenders. I was like the house band at the Whiskey. We did that. I dated Don Johnson for a short period of time. Ryan O'Neal. I mean, these guys were coked up. And I was just going along for the ride. It was, but I knew it wasn't good, and I wasn't an addict, and but it was fun. It was a fun time, and so. But I also realized that was a bad play. It was not a good lifestyle. And so I became I had helped people in my family with this medicine, Ibogaine, in Mexico, which is a sacred psychedelic plant from Africa. And it works. And it worked. It worked great for heroin addicts. And so I got really enthusiastic about it. My son, who's at Yale Medical School and Yale MBA, he's same age as you.
Wow.
Yep. And so when he was at Davis, I said, you should come down to the clinic with me in Mexico and see how it works. Because he's like, I'm not sure. What's going on with you? And I said, come on down to the clinic in Mexico. And so he did some really definitive research on Ibogaine. And that actually is what he's working with now. He's working on funding for Ibogaine research. Yale has a psychedelic research department. So this is real, this company called MindMed, Kevin from Shark Tank was just on, he did a YouTube video yesterday. MindMed, Kevin said that's his best investment of the year. That's one of the companies that Marley works with Ibogaine. MindMeds is psilocybin for resistant depression. So this is a huge field right now. New York University, Johns Hopkins, Yale, they all have psychedelic research departments. So the MDMA, remember the good old ecstasy?
Yeah.
MDMA is in phase 3 trials for PTSD. So that's going to be legal next year. We're all victims of the Ronald Reagan, just say no. The drug war, that we're going to really fight the drugs. Well, you see, that was billions and billions and billions boondoggle. We didn't end the war we didn't end drugs. We were just pouring money into it. And because of that, it was really targeted there's a book called Chasing the Scream. I totally invite you to read this. So good. And it really is the history of the drug war. It really was a war against blacks. And people will argue that with me. Not Black people. They know, they were marginalized because, because of this, and they were targeted. And so, you look at the prison population, it's, it's predominantly Black and Latino. And so what happens is you take these dads, these fathers out of their community, and now you're left with all these hardworking single Black moms who have to raise kids, and I understand what being a single mom is. So it just sets up this really horrible cycle of welfare system and feeding the prison, and it's like the school to prison pipeline. That's real. So yes, I do think that this is something that we need to stop, the end of drug war. When Portugal ended their war on drugs, when they legalized it all, crime went down, deaths went down. You have a legal heroin clinic to get people off of heroin and provide them with quality stuff, so you don't have 24-year-old kids dying from fentanyl. So that's relevant.
No, and I mean, I think that there's so much to this too, and I think it's easy for when people don't understand necessarily and they haven't done their research, it's easy for them to get behind a keyboard and completely try to rip you apart or attack your name and attack your research. And you sometimes have to wonder more about the people who are doing that and what's going on with them than really what's going on in your own world.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And I have strategies now, which I didn't have. I didn't have to have.
You said you're like a Jedi, no?
Yeah, I have all these strategies now. So when I get so much love, you have no idea, because I think this this season, people now have come onto my Instagram. I've been doing this morning meds IGTV, which, like I said, started out last year when I was just devastated. It's actually my first one that I did was on my friend's doorstep in New York. I was with Braunwyn, and that's when I went out. I had to go find her and get her home. And she and my friend and we had to get her off the floor of the elevator, get her out. She went down again, and my friend, and she was staying with me and my friend. We had to go put her in bed. And that was my first morning meds. And I was devastated. You'll see, I was crying, just so confused. I didn't understand what was going on. That was September a year ago. So I started just purging. It was a purge. I started to purge publicly, which I didn't at the time. I only had 1,500 Instagram followers. So it was only a purge to my friends,
Right.
People that follow me that I'd known for a while. And then as the show started and continued, more and more people came on, and, a lot of people mocked me crying. They're like, "Oh, look at the big whiny crybaby. You're so mean to your daughter." Just all of that. And I got death threats when the guy accused me of saying the N-word on the fashion show later. You die, white bitch, and all this. And so I would go on and just like my heart, my throat. My husband hated it. My mother was so upset. My mother was upset what was going down.
How could you not be?
Huh?
I said,
Yeah.
How could you not be?
My mother, my father, I'm very close to them. I bought them a condo right down the street from me, and they were there for the whole thing. They were there for Braunwyn. She was never left at home when she was 4 with a key. A 4-year-old can't even put a key in a door. That was just all that was,
Cinematic effect.
Huh? It was just her memories. There was something about her memories. She did have a key when she was 9. She was in the 4th grade, which is different from being 4. And then they show a picture of her when she's 3. Oh, and she had a key at 4. And then they show a picture of her at her 3rd birthday. So it looks like some baby has a key to the house. Like a baby could actually get in the house with a key. So,
in all fairness, I had a key at 9 too. So I don't think that makes anybody.
Right. 9 was 9, 10. It was, and I didn't like that she had a key. I didn't, and so that was the year that she came to live with me when I was in med school. And I didn't like that. So then she went back and lived with my dad the next year in Laguna with her cousin Erin, which was at the beach, which was amazing. And so anyway, I don't know where I was with talking about things, but
well, no, I mean, we're talking about, addiction and understanding and all of these things. I mean, does it at least now, navigating and having to go through these different moments with Braunwyn, does it at least now make more sense now that she's come out publicly and kind of said why she was feeling the same way, and she wasn't technically living her true authentic self? Now does that at least make sense?
I had no idea she was a lesbian. I had no idea. I don't think she knew.
Yeah.
There was something, and of course that could have contributed to her not feeling good.
Right.
Feeling whatever she was feeling. So, there was a moment. We had a lot of moments.
There's a lot of moments.
She was as a teenager. So, when I moved to the desert, she was 18 or 19, and I rented an apartment in Seal Beach, and I said, what are you gonna do with your life? She didn't want to go to school. She didn't want to go to college. I said, well, you need to take some classes and get a job. And she agreed to do that. And then didn't fulfill that. And she was living at this apartment I'd set her up in at the beach at Sail Beach. And then I found out that she wasn't going to class and she had quit her job. And I'm like, what's going on here? So eventually she met Sean, and I really liked him. And then when I think she was 20, on Christmas Day, she gave me a picture for my present, she gave me an ultrasound picture. They were pregnant. And I was like, yay, fabulous. Now you guys should get married. Well, I didn't say that, Grandma did. We had a 89-year-old, my husband's grandma was living with us. And nobody else wanted the old broad. You can come live with us. And so she's like, she's hard of hearing. And I showed, Braunwyn and Sean gave me the picture, and I was like, oh my God, this is so fabulous. She goes, are you not mad? I went, mad? No, of course not. This is beautiful. And somebody's calling me. And that's my best friend for 40 years, Kathy. So Grandma says, what is it? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? And it's an ultrasound picture, Grandma. She goes, she's pregnant? She goes, and they're not married? And she yells it across the room, and they're not married? And I said, no, I don't get that. So later I said, look, that was on Christmas. I said, later that day, I said, I think you guys should get married. And so she goes, no, I don't. We're just going to have the baby and this and that. And she goes, I want to have a big wedding. And she'd been planning her wedding, like all little girls back in those days. We all planned our weddings when we were 12. And she goes, I wanted and I remember, I'll never forget, she says, I want an ice sculpture. And I said, well, why don't we just do a beautiful little ceremony here in the desert, which we did. And at 6 weeks, I did it. I got the venue, which is down La Quinta. It was beautiful. It was just the families, like 22. I said, but we're going to make it beautiful. We got her a beautiful dress and the flowers, and she was so happy, and they got married. And it was like 6 weeks later, and she said that was the best decision she ever made, was doing that. And she was really thankful that I had not pushed her into it, but I was like, no, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And then you can have the big wedding later, which I think was the vow renewal.
Right.
That was the big wedding later that she never got. which she had always wanted. And that turned out beautiful too.
Yeah.
So of course it was filmed for for all the world to see. But her first one was there was just 20 of us. Beautiful. And that's why they came back to the desert to do the renewal, because Braunwyn and Sean asked me to scope out the place where they had gotten married originally, which is now an art museum. So it's not even a restaurant anymore.
Oh, see, I wish we got to see more of these like beautiful moments of you and kind of
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? But of course that wouldn't make for great TV, right? In the eyes of producers, it doesn't make for great TV if you're just this awesome mom with this fantastic dynamic. They want a little bit of conflict here, and sometimes
a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes that's unfortunate because it affects relationships, mental health. It takes a toll on you, you know, and just sitting here talking to you about this and kind of hearing a lot of things that you went through, especially with Braunwyn and just being there for Braunwyn, it makes you kind of really annoyed, I guess, when you hear other people like other castmates right now, and I know Braunwyn's going through this, other castmates who are saying, you know, she's just doing this for a storyline. She's not like this. She didn't have an alcohol abuse problem. She's not actually a lesbian. And it's like,
they're saying that?
Well, Kelly Dodd came out and said that she knows Braunwyn personally and she knows the kind of person that she is. And she's like, this is all for a storyline just to secure her spot on the show. And so Braunwyn came out and said, why would I play with addiction and substance abuse? And why would I use that for a storyline? And I believe Braunwyn because especially
she definitely is. I'm going to refresh my lipstick. She's definitely, it was bad.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I've flown cross country to help get her out of the back seat of a car in 30-degree weather. My mother too, when she wouldn't come out or, you know, out of the closet. So literally.
I see what you did there. I like that play I like that play.
So funny. I'm in my closet right now. I never did understand where that
saying came from.
Yeah, where'd it come from? Out of the closet?
I don't know. I was so happy when I came out of the closet, though. Let me tell you, I felt like I had 150 pounds lifted off my shoulders, and I thought my whole family was going to stop talking to me, and it was actually the best moment of my life. I said to my dad, I was like, "Okay, I'm gay," and he's like, "Okay, so we're gay." I'm like, "No, Dad, we're not gay. I'm gay." He's like, "Nope. If you're gay, we're gay. It is what it is." I'm like, "No, you have a wife. You are not gay." It was just not the reaction. My dad is this kind of country, looks like Larry the Cable Guy, sounds like Larry the Cable Guy kind of guy. So I was terrified, and you never know what the reaction's going to be. So I think when you have people come out and they try to take that away from you and say that you're just doing this as a lie and this isn't you, I think that, again, it's hurtful.
Yeah. And the funny, what I heard in what you just said is that you weren't sure how he was going to react.
Yeah.
That's so one of the things that as a parent we aim for or is to teach our children how we're going to react to whatever comes our way as a parent or as a kid. And so to teach them radical inclusion, you know, to include whoever comes into your life that you feel is worthy of being with you, then we will, you know, embrace. I think that's really important in a parent child. And with Braunwyn, it's always been hard because there was always the alcohol.
Right.
You know, I couldn't do anything about her dad, and I can't do anything about her. And I think I trigger her. You know, I'm one of her triggers. I know. And I look at it from from my perspective, from her perspective. Um, my girlfriend keeps calling me.
And you're a popular lady.
I know.
You're
It's true.
like, oh, sometimes it's so hard. Last year I got all this hate, but now you get all this love. I love that, by the way, when you said that. I love that.
It's so good. I get love letters. And it's not just from strangers. I get I've gotten some hate from people that I thought were close. I was close to, who watched the show. You know, some like people that I thought were friends, and they watched the show and they bought it. You know, I'm like, stop watching the show. What are you doing? I didn't know you watched the show. I can't believe you watch this show. She goes, yeah, it's my dirty little secret. Or I'm like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I do a show now every Friday with my grandfather that I just met this past year, thanks to Ancestry.com.
Fabulous.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. He's a Vietnam vet, and, you know, I met him. He happened to live 2 hours away from me, and we went up, met him. My mom had a whole moment. She's been looking for her dad her whole life. And then I just thought, Vietnam vet, he's going to be like I didn't know how he was going to be. And it turns out he went through a procedure that kept him in the hospital for a while. And Real Housewives of Orange County got him through that. So he would religiously watch the Real Housewives. And now every Friday we do a show called Popping Off with Pops. Pops pops off on pop culture. And we give 100% of the proceeds from the ad revenue and donations back into our vets. So it just, something really beautiful came out of it, out of a show that I just would have never thought this man's man would be watching, but he did. It was his guilty, little closeted guilty pleasure over here. So you never know.
That's adorable. And people, I get letters. I posted one yesterday. Because so this is my strategy for when people send me nasty notes now, which I didn't know about last year. When people send me nasty notes, I post them in my stories.
And then they'll stop.
With my response. And I try to always make it I'm a wise ass, okay? I'm the snappy wise ass. I'm a funny girl. That's why my friends love me, and I love them. And so I try to make it loving, yet but yet, you know, I'm calling you out on this. I'm shining light on your hate with my love, and I hope, you know, I'm here for you. But you're gonna have to change I'm like a grandmother. I'm like, but you can't talk to me that way. You can't be sassy.
Yeah, you're gonna have to change that way about you, because that's not gonna get you anywhere in life. Being hateful doesn't help anyone, not even yourself.
Above all, do no harm.
Yeah.
You know, above all.
I love that. And I love, you know, I love that you have this infectious personality. I hope, and I'm sure this is just going to radiate through this video when people are watching it, just how special and amazing of a human being you are. I think you have an incredible soul, and you're so sweet. And I'm just sorry that anybody was ever mean in the first place, but I am so happy that you are getting all of this love now. And for people who are watching, just out of curiosity, are there any things aside from your morning med on IGTV? Are there any other kind of places we should look for you, or something that you have that you're focusing on? Or are you just kind of like your Dr. Deb and you're taking life as it comes?
That's pretty much it. So I had a divine Kundalini awakening in 2006. I was really depressed. And I went to Burning Man. It was my third year at Burning Man. I resisted going to Burning Man. I didn't know what it was. It sounded awful. Camping in the desert. I didn't know what it was. My mother took me. My mom, my two kids, my husband. We're going to go on this camping trip in the desert. That's what I thought. I'm like, okay, if I don't do anything, I'm just going to step on the RV, and mom says I'll drive and all this stuff. Or I'll cook, and I'm like, all right, I'll go. I was very resistant. And then when I got there, the second day, my mouth hurt from smiling so hard. I was just in wonder And and so my third year there, I had a divine Kundalini experience. I went in. It's a great story. It is the story, like the story of my life, because that's when it's the butterfly. You are in a cocoon. It's so tight and so dark, and you are transforming through the pain, through the constriction. That's and somebody that's an artist or creative, or, we just, and then you get so uncomfortable that you have to emerge, and then you're a butterfly. And I had a full body orgasm while burning in a fire at Burning Man at the temple. It's called the Temple Fire. It's a very sacred fire, one of the big fires, quiet, sacred. Throughout the week, everyone brings memorabilia from their deceased loved ones, and the temple just fills up with wedding dresses or skis or whatever you want to burn that belonged to someone that you loved and you want to honor. And so then they burned the temple, and I walked into the fire. I never would have done that. I was scared of crowds. I don't know. I had become just this chicken shit. And I don't know, and I was depressed. And so that's a whole story. But I was hypnotized, and I just went into the fire, and it was so hot. It was so hot. And I had a full body orgasm. It started down in my root chakra, and it just went up through my whole body, and I just had an orgasm. I mean, nothing like a regular orgasm.
No, this is like a whole outer body experience.
Oh, it was inner body, my whole body. I was having racked with just epic, tremendous, as Trump would say, orgasm. And it went on, and then I realized I was burning, and I smelled my hair. I smelled my skin. You smell, if you light a match and you get, you burn, you smell your hair. I smelled me burning, and I was like, oh shit, I'm burning. And I got to get out of here. And I turned around and woke up from whatever was just happened, and I ran out of the fire. My husband was there, just shocked, and I collapsed in his arms because I couldn't stand. I was shaking, and he laid me down on the ground, and he goes, what just happened? Because he saw it. I said, oh, I got chills talking about it. I said, I looked up, and I started laughing and crying. I said, I'm happy. I'm happy. And I'm not scared. And that was it. Then I had to go figure out what that was, because I didn't know what that was. I didn't know about Kundalini. I didn't know about the divine transformative events. I didn't know about that. That's what set me on, where I'm at now, which is I emerged. And it looks like Braunwyn emerged.
Yeah. Like she said, coming out of a box, and now she's popped out like confetti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that my hope is that, she's working the program. She's working the 12 steps. And I think I'm on one of those steps. I think that's the making amends part. And I'm not pushing her to do anything. She's got to do everything in her time.
Right.
Sobriety is very hard. It's very hard, and it is hard work. And when she's ready, and maybe while this show is going is not the time, because she knows, like from last year, that I was very sensitive, and I would, and maybe she just didn't want to hurt me.
Right.
I don't think she realized that she was how badly I was hurt. I don't think she meant to do that.
I wouldn't think so either. I mean, Braunwyn seems like she has a beautiful soul, and obviously she's your daughter. So someone who's as kind as you are, it's easy to get sucked up in editing and stuff. So I'm sure, and I'm also, I'm sending the positive vibes your way. I am sure that we are going to have a amazing family reunion soon.
Well, I know that Bravo would love to have that.
Well, who cares? Bravo doesn't need it. I'm talking about just you and Braunwyn.
Well, I know, and that's the only one I care about because I had agreed to go to therapy with them last year with Braunwyn. They like, will you guys go to therapy? And I said, well, not that stupid kind that you guys promote. Like Shannon and her husband like went to some therapy session. I went, no, we're not going to do that. So if we're going to do therapy, we're going to do MDMA therapy for PTSD because that's such good therapy and it works. And so I suggested MDMA. I got a person who is he's a qualified, verified MAPS therapist for MDMA. He can legally give MDMA. And she said, no. She said, no, I'm not going to do that. It's a drug and I'm not, blah, 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 blah. It's not legal. And I went, okay, well, I'm available for that. But what MDMA does is it's an empathogen. And empath means it opens your heart. It generates your heart opening. And it works in your brain on your serotonin, and it really inhibits the ego. So all those feelings that the ego gives you of anger or abandonment or betrayal, all those feelings are gone so that it's just love. And that's what MDMA therapy is good for, just for opening your heart. If you're having issues with someone, and there's a lot of them and they're very painful, do MDMA with a therapist and work it out through the heart.
As said by Dr. Deb. Well, Dr. Deb, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like I could sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and hours. We will someday. Thank you, dear. I love you. Thank you.
Bye, honey.
Check us out every Monday and Wednesday. Thanks for watching Up and Adam.